Welcome everyone to Have History Will Travel. I am your host, the Wilder Historian, and for Halloween I wanted to highlight a letter I found during my research for my dissertation that talks about a cave where numerous soldiers were said to have gotten lost inside. The following is an excerpt from one of those letters. Stay tuned afterward to find out how to visit this cave. A crowd of us visited the celebrated cave of this place a few days since. There were 5 of us: Bowling, Captain Wise, Dr. Dixon, our surgeon, Lieutenant Davy, and myself. Going in the outer door or entrance of the cave, which is about the size of a common house door, we came into the first apartment or room we shall call it for the sake of brevity. We then had to light our candles to look for the next door. We searched in vain for nearly 2 hours, and were on the eve of retiring to camp thinking the cave was a humbug, and that the first was the only room to it, which I should have said was or is about the size of 2 of the bedrooms of our Autauga house. When seeing a soldier of a Tennessee regiment, we called him and asked if he could guide us into the cave. He was a very kind and accommodating man and immediately proffered his services, as he had been a mile or more into the cave. He entered the first door, we followed. He proceeded to the back part of the room where we had relit our candles, only 2 pieces. We told him we had searched the whole cave and no door could be found. He has us follow him. He entered where we had looked a dozen times before he came. To our astonishment, a small door just large enough to crawl through we followed, and crawling 5 or 6 feet. We came into the second room, about the size of the first, but presenting much more of the appearance of a palace. In it were great pillars of rock formed by stalagmites and stalactites meeting rocks of every shape and size. Could be seen some like sugar loaves, others representing pineapples, and innumerable other things. There were large pools of perfectly clear water in this second room, around which were beautiful little dams of solid rock. So you have seen them formed by the little children of sand in the yard after a rain. We also discovered some grasshoppers in this room, for which we were unable to account. Having minutely examined this room, we proceeded to the third, which I believe a little larger, was not altogether as grand as the second. We carefully inspected this room and proceeded to the fourth, having visited every place in the fourth. And the many curiosities of nature's work, formed by water dripping through the rocks above for ages, all having been seen, and by referring to a watch, that this was growing late, we concluded we had gone as far as time would allow, and so turned back, greatly elated with our visit and declaring our intentions to explore further at some future and more convenient time. One is well paid for this trouble in visiting such a work of nature. I expect the cave extends a great many miles along the Cumberland mountains. I understand it has been explored 5 or 6 miles. I think we went about 300 yards into it. Our guide said he had been about a mile in it. Of course, there were many wonderful stories existing about men getting lost in there. Says that one poor fellow was heard to play his fiddle in tune 3 days. This soldier was a part of Hilliard's Alabama Legion and was stationed at Cumberland Gap on the border of Kentucky, Virginia, and Tennessee. This cave is now called Gap Cave, which was the name that Dr. Thomas Walker gave it in 1750, but it had a commercialized name for most of the 20th century called Cudjo's Cave, named after the famous novel from the 1860s. The National Park Service now owns this cave in the form of Cumberland Gap National Historical Park, which gives tours through it from around April till September. When you go on a tour, you'll be taken into the Civil War room, where soldiers wrote their names. If the stories of numerous soldiers getting lost in there is true, then that may be responsible for the numerous ghost sightings within that cave. I hope you liked this Halloween special of Half History Will Travel, and have a great day.
Historian, where do you roam? Historian, far from home. Half History Will Travel reads the card of a man, a professor with knowledge in the heartland. To educate the world is his mission. A professor of fortune is a man called historian.